I think we'll come back to some of those election issues a bit later, but I do want to start actually by looking essentially at your brief, because it is right at the centre of why the Prime Minister said she wanted a general election. Now, her main argument for a general election was she said that she needed a bigger majority to strengthen her hand in negotiations with the rest of the EU on our exit terms. But whenever I talk to EU leaders or officials, they say that's absolute nonsense. They can't see any way in which, you know, they're going to somehow be more amenable depending on the size of her majority.
To quote my namesake, Mandy Rice-Davis, they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, you know, they're on the other side of a negotiation. Look, the first thing is, I mean, Brexit is the defining issue of the age in some respects. It's underpinning. You've got a successful Brexit, gives you the basis for a successful economic strategy, gives you the basis for paying for public services, funding the sorts of things that we've just been talking about. Now, in the last 9 months, we have taken through the House of Commons the Article 50 bill. In the course of that, the standard debate was, you've got a mandate to leave the European Union. Well, you know, we, who can't quite cope with this argument, have accepted that there's been a referendum, but you haven't got a mandate to leave in that way. You can leave the European Union, but you can't leave the single market, or you can't leave the customs union, or other impractical proposals. What this is doing is creating a mandate for the way we do it. Not just that we're going to leave, but we're going to leave on these terms.
And so just to be clear, in this hard-soft distinction that people make, this is a mandate for a hard Brexit.
Well, I just think hard Brexit and soft Brexit are propaganda terms. I mean, it's very plain what we're talking.
But it is not membership of the single market. It is out of the customs union. But it is no role for the European Court of Justice. It's control over immigration.
All of that.
This is for you the big platform of your party.
But that's what the public voted for. I mean, they knew I mean, both sides in the referendum. I don't want to go over the referendum campaign again, thank you. But both sides said, if we leave, we have to leave the single market. Both Cameron and Osborne on one side, Gove and Johnson on the other, both said that on television and other places. So that's the first thing. Now,
can I just ask you...
no, it's important.
Okay.
It's important, if I may, Robert, to square this particular circle, because they say, oh, well, that's what cutting ourselves off. No, it's not. What we're seeking is a comprehensive free trade agreement with the European Union, covering all products and all services. What we're seeking is a customs agreement to go with that, to make free and frictionless trade. Now, what we're aiming to get, in other words, is the most beneficial economic outcome we can, whilst actually respecting the outcome of the referendum. Which is why I say hard and soft doesn't actually capture the...
OK, listen, I don't want to get bogged down on terminology, but there is a perfectly plausible argument that says when you're in a negotiation and you're pressing for the most favourable trade terms possible, actually your hand is strengthened if you say to the people on the other side of the negotiation, look, unless you give a bit more, I'm just not going to be able to get this through my own parliament. And you want a deal, we both want a deal, give a bit more ground. So curiously, you could argue that a smaller majority reinforces her negotiation position.
No, it doesn't, I'm afraid. I mean, one of the issues that we had to deal with in this last 9 months is you've got not a large number, but a significant number of people who say they accept the referendum, but actually try every turn to tie the hands of the negotiators. You know, the argument about whether a bad deal is better or worse than no deal. We argue, you know, a bad deal can be significantly worse than no deal. Yeah. So that, taking away that option of having a no deal outcome, is actually quite a serious undermining of the negotiating capability. Nobody wants no deal. Nobody wants it, but you've got to have the option. You go buy a house, and you walk in and you say, I'm going to buy this house, whatever. You're going to pay a very large price for it. Ditto car, ditto anything else. Any negotiation, you have to have the other option, the other alternative. And one of the things that a number of people tried to do during the course of the last few months is to take that away. Now, what we're saying to the public is every vote for a Conservative candidate is a vote to reinforce Theresa May's hand. Now, you're right in one respect. Some of the Europeans thought, oh, a bigger majority means they can give more away to us. No, not at all. A big majority means we've got a stronger hand and get a better deal.
Well, I think, you know, many are going to dispute that, but let's just get on to the process. So, talking to EU officials the other day, they say that the next big event in terms of the negotiation will be a meeting either with you or whoever Labour wins their Brexit Secretary.
And if I'm not sacked, all
well, if you're not sacked. But anyway, on the assumption you're still in the job, they say the next big event will be a meeting between you and Michel Barnier, their main negotiator, at the end of June. And that will be a conversation about the mandate they've published for how these talks will go. So do you accept the structure that they've put on these talks broadly, that you have to talk about money, migrants and Ireland before you get on to trade?
Not entirely, and that'll be the first discussion.
So which bit of that don't you accept?
Well, money in Ireland, basically. I mean, the European Union citizens in the UK, British citizens abroad, we all accept needs to be dealt with as fast as possible.
And can I just ask, they think that this could be all wrapped up by the early autumn on the rights of citizens. Do you think it could all be wrapped up?
Yes.
Because they have laid out that they want to guarantee all rights, pension rights, health rights and all the rest of it, which is what people were saying in the Leave campaign. So that could be wrapped up quite quickly.
I think so. I mean, there will be arguments over fine detail.
Like what?
Well, like whether the European Court of Justice oversees these rights after we've left.
Is that a fine detail? Because talking again to Brussels officials, they say the European Court of Justice has to oversee those rights.
We'll have an argument about that. We'll have an argument about that.
Are you prepared to accept that at all?
No, we're not. And the simple truth is we're leaving. We are going to be outside the reach of the European Court. We're going to be outside the reach of all of the lawmaking capability.
So just to be clear, if an Italian who's lived here for a bit has a dispute over the pension that we pay him, you don't want the European Court of Justice to be able to adjudicate?
No, I mean, I don't think there will be such a dispute, to be honest. I mean, what we're after is a very generous outcome. In effect, what we're trying to do is to get a circumstance which effectively freezes the rights that people already have. So they will have the rights to welfare, they'll have the rights to healthcare, they'll have the rights to pensions, as they would if they were a permanent resident here. Anyway, the only rights they wouldn't have are those sort of citizenship rights and the right to vote in a general election.
So that's one important disagreement. Sorry,
but the point is that there are many, many ways of guaranteeing this. We don't see a need to sort of give in to the European ideology on the European Court of Justice. We've got very good courts. In fact, I take slight offence to the argument that the Supreme Court couldn't oversee this. So that's stage one.
OK, there's an enormous amount that I need to pick up with you on all of this in just a minute, because now we're just going to a quick break, but there'll be more from David Davis in just a minute or two.
Want to transform your garden? Well, at B&Q, you can get this 1.8 metre Madeira Value green deck board for only £2 per board. And this McAllister sliding mitre saw for just £78. For great deals this weekend, come to B&Q.
Get your energy supplier to install a smart meter and you'll be able to see exactly how much energy you're using in pounds and pence. Contact your energy supplier today about installing your smart meter.
Home again, home again. Many times I've been told, speaking mind, just people. So I close my
Because acting quickly can make all the difference. HSBC could approve your mortgage in just one day.
moving on.
Dolce & Gabbana, light blue, the new eau intense.
Alexa, what's the weather in Ibiza?
Currently it's 23 degrees with partly cloudy skies.
Make your home look fabulous for less with up to 50% off hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. Plus, book now for an extra 10% off everything, including our latest range of stunning voiles and our amazing quality carpets. Measuring and fitting by our local expert advisors is all part of the service too. So book your free home appointment by the 15th of May for your extra 10% off. Call 0800 916 1000 or visit hillarys.co.uk. Hillarys, you'll love what we do.
From this moment on, be open to surprises. Let joy run free. Make memories to cherish. Because we are the storytellers of life.
Book your unforgettable 2017 summer holiday. It's not too late. Go to visitorlando.com.
Nice one. Wow, that's bigger than I was expecting. Now, would you look at all this? So many channels, loads of big screen drama. Ha! Lucky man.
Lucky you.
This Sky Q box is fantastic. You can store so much stuff on it. And the Sky Q app, so you can watch your favourites wherever you are. All of this for just £22 a month. Bet that's less than you expected. Search Sky Bundles.
Right now at Benson's, be better off with 3 for 2 on all bedroom furniture. But hurry, offers must end Tuesday. Only at Benson's.
She's a supermarket woman. She's a supermarket woman.
F&F, new fashion collection at Tesco.
We've reunited more than 200 long-lost relatives. Now, we find out what happened next.
Hello. It was a relief. She accepted me for who I am. She did try to keep me. That's all that matters.
The reunion was just the beginning. Long Lost Family, What Happened Next continues Tuesday at 9 on ITV.
Welcome back to Peston on Sunday. Big fail for David Davis, who's not yet negotiated his exit from the show. Now, first, Anushka, there's a bit of reaction on Twitter, I think.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, as you can imagine, Twitter is alive, and not all of it that kind. Here is academic Paul Hutchings saying, oh, is that the right one? We can sort things out quickly except for the fine detail. Yes, those are commonly known as the hard bits and where the devil is found. And
we agree with that.
Politico's Tom McTague, who knows a thing or two about Brussels, says David Davis jokes about being sacked after the election. It seems bizarre from London, but in Brussels, it is a perpetual rumour.
Well, there you go, wishful thinking.
Well, I might pick up, though, on that with you before we get on to the meat of it. I mean, you did say, I think, to the Telegraph quite recently that you thought there was a bit of a Brussels conspiracy to get you sacked.
I wouldn't put it as conspiracy. Let's not overstate it. When the...
Talk about the leak, aren't we?
Yeah, that leak was designed to be as disruptive as it could be. And it wasn't a leak, it was a briefing, you know. And it was designed to be as disruptive in all sorts of ways. I mean, they also said...
Why did you, though, mention in that dinner, you know, the fact that you duffed up Theresa May at the ECJ?
That's the part which wasn't accurate. I mean, she teases me all the time about this, but that's by the by. But, you know, it wasn't a leak. It was a briefing, and it was a briefing, much of which was just completely wrong, you know. So, anyway, and it was aimed to disrupt.
Well, look, let's get on to the hard facts, which is, you know, you are going to have to talk to Michel Barnier about his proposals for how we do the negotiation, and you've already said that you don't accept that money has to be... He says the formula for how much we pay them has to be decided before we get on to trade talks, and you're saying you're having none of that. Is that right?
Well, what we've said is Article 50 says that, you know, you'll decide what is now called the divorce arrangement, but you know, the separation, taking into account the ongoing relationship. Well, how can you take into account an ongoing relationship which doesn't exist yet? So, and we take the view, we've got this big, very ambitious free trade agreement we want to undertake. We want to get on with that as soon as possible. Not to hang around while... You know, because what happens then? That becomes pressure on us. The negotiating pressure is on us, this is why it's designed this way, to get over the most difficult bit, the funding and Northern Ireland, before we do anything else. And Northern Ireland, by the way, how on earth do you resolve the border, the issue of the border with Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, unless you know what our general borders policy is, what the customs agreement is, what the free trade agreement is, whether you need to charge tariffs at the border or not? You can't decide one without the other. It's wholly illogical, and we happen to think are the wrong interpretation of the treaty. So that'll be the row of the summer. That'll be
I mean, it's obviously a very big row. And the thing that I think must cause at least your officials some anxiety is that if the Council of Ministers agree the mandate in just a couple of weeks' time that Barnier has put before them, they would then have to have another meeting in the autumn to agree your sequencing, all of which uses up enormously valuable time, which makes many people very uncomfortable with the idea that we're going to have a deal of any sort over the 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things to say first. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense talked about the trade deal itself, how long it takes. I mean, Carol de Gucht, past Trade Commissioner, really hates Brexit, but says, you know, this can be done in the time the political will is there. The current one, Malmström, also hates Brexit. The current
but just to be clear, you're not anxious about those extra months being used up by this row over the summer, which you say is inevitable?
No, well, for a start, if they wanted to, they could have another council. Before the summer starts.
Right.
Secondly, the summer is the least valuable time in dealing with Brussels. It's nearly empty and it's very, very slow moving. It doesn't mean we have to be. We can do lots and lots of work in that time. So, you know, we're very conscious of the time sequencing of this. We're also very conscious of how they'll use that time sequence to pressure us, and we'll avoid that at every turn.
I mean, just finally, they do say that the reason they want the formula for money settled first, and this is, I think, relevant to the strength of our negotiating hand, is they say that they do not believe even a country you think is our friends, the Poles, for example, would be prepared to talk about trade until they know what kind of money is available to them for infrastructure projects that they're currently working on based on money coming from us.
What happened in the last 9 months is Michel Barnier went around all the 27, talked to them all, and basically tried to get them to exercise solidarity, as they term it, to operate together. Pretty much all of them have a common view on money. Either they receive money and they want to keep receiving it, or they pay money and they don't want to pay any more, right? And our removal from the formula makes all of that more difficult. So there's no surprise that that's what they want to do. But the raw truth is that, you know, we want to see the whole deal together. They love saying nothing's agreed until everything's agreed. That's our view on this, with the single exception of the detail of the of European citizens and British citizens outside their own countries. With the single exception of that, we want to see everything packaged up together, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. Commiserations that you're going to have a pretty difficult time over the summer, so it seems. Anyway, see you again soon.